The 2019 Acura RDX, which is the third generation, will appear to be just another crossover to most people, but to Acura, this is a fresh beginning. Everything about it is new, including the attitude. The brand's sober, practical left-brain thinking has finally given way to some right-brain indulgence, and most of it was done in the USA.
Like your iPhone, the RDX was designed in California, but unlike the iPhone, it's manufactured in the United States, in Ohio, same place it was engineered.
Did I mention I'm in Canada? Acura held the press launch in Whistler, British Columbia. The assembled automotive writers had a full day to assess these cars on winding scenic roads and a little bit of dirt. Some things to know: the new architecture, 38% more rigid now, is exclusive to Acura, so no, RDX isn't just a fancy Honda CR-V. Yes, this grille has appeared on updated versions of current models, but this is the first full application of Acura's new design language that draws inspiration from this, the precision concept that was first shown at the 2016 Detroit Auto Show. It's all part of adding some emotion to the RDX visual. The fog lamp and air curtain element is cribbed from NSX, shoulders get some muscle, there's a subtle scallop here, and trim resolves nicely towards the rear. The new premium paints that Acura will now charge for have deep luster. The angular RDX look will not appeal to eyes that fawn over the organic Porsche Macan and Alfa Romeo Stelvio, but Acura's California design team has penned a unique balanced look that doesn't look like an alien.
The first generation RDX was a 4-cylinder turbo. The second generation moved up to a V6. Gen 3, back to the future with a 4-cylinder turbo.
It's a 2-liter unit that develops the same specs in all 4 models. 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque on specified premium fuel. The controller is familiar, but it operates a new 10-speed automatic, and yes, there's manual control. There are also drive modes that adjust throttle response, transmission mapping, and steering weight, plus the adaptive suspension in advanced models. Normally, a front driver, $2,000, buys Acura's new torque vectoring super handling all-wheel drive system. There is a sporty A-Spec model, but it can be argued it's more of an attitude trim choice, with larger 20-inch wheels compared to the 19s on the Advance, plus an interior with ultra-suede seat inserts. From here on out, I'm talking about the Advance version.
The only 4-cylinder turbo with more power in this class is the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, and this one is lighter,
though only by 20-some pounds. I'll guesstimate a 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds or so. Power delivery is quite good, with torque available down low and a transmission that's happy to drop 4 gears when the throttle is pushed to the carpet. In case you're wondering, those drive modes are distinctive.
Talking to the Acura engineers, they say that they benchmarked the BMW X3 for driving dynamics and the Audi Q5 for ride quality. Darned if they haven't come close. There is definitely a polish with the RDX that wasn't there in the previous generation.
Handling is good enough that you'll ignore the beautiful British Columbia scenery. A new 5-link rear suspension has to help. I couldn't really gauge fuel economy, but the government rating is estimated at 21 miles per gallon city, 27 highway, and 23 combined. On average, RDX is slightly less efficient than Audi Q5, BMW X3, and Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, and matches Volvo XC60.
I had an issue with road noise in the outgoing RDX. This one has thicker acoustical glass, more sound deadening, active noise reduction. It's much quieter.
At highway speed, I heard little to no wind noise. A new standard variable gear ratio power steering unit offers decent feedback through the wheel. Personally, I'd ask for a little more steering weight in Sport Plus mode.
One thing exclusive to the Advance package, adaptive dampers.
They work nicely. I'm just surprised they can't be had on the A-Spec model. RDX balances comfort and sport quite well, though Canada does have awfully smooth roads. Part of the excellent control comes from the new super handling all-wheel drive system, and to demonstrate its rear drive bias ability, Acura sent us to this strip of dirt to show it off. 70% of the power can go to the rear, and then back there it can send 100% to either the right or the left.
Correct.
All the stability controls are off.
Everything's off.
I can really experience it.
Yep, and full throttle around this first cone, right? Beautiful balance. Yep. Beautiful.
You can really feel it kick out. It's definitely rear drive bias. Now on the road, the active torque vectoring overspins the outside rear wheel when cornering to give the car a more natural feel. It's not something that's overly observed. It simply makes drivers more confident. Unlike many competitors, Acura makes its suite of electronic safety systems standard. That includes auto emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot warning, and lane keep assist. Adaptive cruise control, too. Speaking of safety, this is not a car dismantled by border control to find contraband. Acura is using the cutaway to show ultra-high-strength steel in red for passenger protection. These yellow pieces are engineered to ace the small overlap impact test on both driver and passenger sides. Moving to the real car, the Acura team has done a lot to spruce up the cabin. I've berated this company for not bringing its A game here in past vehicles. RDX uses real wood trim, noticeably better leather, door handles with heft, and a panoramic roof standard on all models. The seats are all new. Only bears wandering in from the Canadian Rockies won't be able to find a comfy setting with 16-way adjustment. The passenger gets it too. They're heated and vented as well. It would be silly for me to try to demonstrate the 16-speaker ELS 3D sound system, but I can tell you this, it might be worth buying the car for. At the very least, it's a tiebreaker. Go to the trouble of using lossless, uncompressed music files, and it's like sitting in the studio with Steely Dan. RDX has usable space with lots of storage cubbies. I forgot my iPad in here. This is the new Acura True Touchpad Interface, and while it might look like the Lexus version that I've panned, it's quite different. For example, touch the upper left-hand corner, and it selects that part of the screen. It doesn't operate like a computer trackpad.
What we found was, in doing a lot of consumer research, that users really live in audio navigation. That's where they are about 90% of the time they're driving. And with this system, that allows us to have both displayed at the same time. And just by pressing in this B zone, it then switches. So you can swap, you can change a radio station, jump back to navigation, and vice versa.
I've done a full story on the interface that I'll link to at the end of the piece. It's an improvement over Acura's outgoing dual screen, and the graphics don't look swiped from Honda. I'd like to spend more time with it before fully judging. Evil Twin couldn't make it across the border, so it's up to me to tell you about the back seat, which is appropriately roomy for a rig this size. The seats do not slide fore and aft, though. Dual USB ports and heated outboard seats will pamper passengers. Acura claims best-in-class knee and leg room, which seems about right. Most families don't really need a 3-row crossover. This would coddle a family of 4 nicely. RDX is now available with a kick-to-open tailgate. Yes, there are Costco's in Canada. No, I'm not going to do the test. It's way far away. The spare tire is mounted underneath. There's handy storage under the load floor. I would prefer 40-20-40 split seat backs. At least the space is larger than the outgoing model and the 4 European competitors I've been mentioning. As far as the TP test, I'll estimate the score at 8. It's a roomy boot. So, summing up, this RDX isn't just a significant improvement over the last generation, it competes with everything in its class, which also includes Cadillac XT5, Infiniti QX50, Lexus NX, and Lincoln MKC. Prices start at $38,300 for a front-drive RDX. The top trim advanced all-wheel drive model I'm driving retails for $48,400. On average, that's about $7,000 to $10,000 less than many of the mentioned vehicles. It's what we in the biz call a good deal. The 2019 RDX is a crossover that deserves to be high on the test drive list. If the rest of Acura's lineup gets this kind of performance, refinement, and value, its showrooms should see a lot more traffic in the years to come. A couple more things before I leave the Great White North. I really like head-up displays, and the one in the RDX is quite good. The Jewel-Eye LED lights are next generation and standard kit. While all of the paints are metallic, 4 of the 9 will cost extra. It's part of a new clear coat process the new paint shop can turn out. It costs millions of dollars to construct, so the $400 upcharge on this Performance Red Pearl seems like a bargain. In person, it really pops.
I will leave you with this. At the press briefing, the Acura engineers said that they're developing an all-new turbocharged V6 engine, and they're reviving the Type R moniker. Whether that applies to the RDX, that remains to be seen. They're being a little cagey. That's Driven. From Canada, I'm Tom Voelk.